So this will be the third and last part of my video on the characters of the Ravages of Time. And like I said, there are more characters, more important and amazing characters in the series. Like I did manage to include Mao Cheng, and then Xiao Ming, and other important characters, but obviously I can't cover them all. Maybe later. But for now, for this three-part video that I'm creating, I think I'll focus on the main characters that we know, and the 8 geniuses. And here, this is the last part, the Lord of the Three Kingdoms. So that's pretty much it for now. And for the lords of these three will be pretty much the founders and pretty much the most important, well, along with the 8 geniuses and our main characters, one of the most important characters in the series, because they will be the founders of the 3 kingdoms, which the story will revolve later on, especially in the nobles more so, because in the manga, the Ravages of Time, the chaos already started. We follow the chaos from the moment the Han dynasty, the Han Empire broke up. So for the first lord, we have Cao Cao. Cao Cao is pretty much the Marquis or the Lord of Wei, a title given to him by the Emperor, and he also lobbies for Liu Bei to be the Marquis of Shu Han, and Sun Ce to be the Marquis of Wu. And so he played a central role to the establishment of the 3 kingdoms, as these 3 territories, like I said, Wei, Shu Han, and Ce, this will be the future 3 kingdoms in the future. And Lu Bu Cao Cao played a central role to that in order to defeat Lu Bu, because they created a coalition to defeat Lu Bu. In exchange, the other 2 lords, the other 2 forces gained a lot of power for what they did. So Lu Bu remains pretty important throughout the whole series for what he did. And then Cao Cao is the closest the series to have to a main antagonist, because he's sort of the target of most characters here, and he remains the most powerful force in all of Han. He pretty much took over most of territories, and in the original novel he is actually the main antagonist, but in here he labels himself as the anti-hero. And then Cao Cao wants to restore Han Empire's might, but with him pulling the strings. So he pretty much wants to make the Emperor his puppet, and he pretty much does that for most of the series. The problem is taking over all of Han, because there are powerful warlords that does not support Cao Cao pretty much, and they know he's the one that's pulling the strings. He successfully managed to retrieve the Emperor, and like I said, he's been in control for most of Han throughout the territories, and he's the one he defeats several warlords and is the closest to unifying all of Han once again. And he is also the target of both the main characters Sima Yi and Hu Wo, due to what he did to the Sima Yi family. And prior to Pang Tong's plan, actually, Cao Cao was already in a bad relationship with the Sima Yi, because he sort of owes the Sima Yi family, but he sort of blackmailing them. He's forcing them to give him their resources prior to that. And then of course this became the point of no return when Cao Cao decides to kill most of the Sima family. So at that point, he is the sworn enemy of Sima Yi from that point on. And Sima Yi is planning to exact revenge on Cao Cao himself. And I think Cao Cao from the latest chapters seems to know this. He knows Sima Yi wants him, and he saw Sima Yi's talent, and so he's using Sima Yi's plan for vengeance for his own benefit. But one of them will eventually come out on top, and we will have to see who wins in the end. But I'm willing to bet Sima Yi wins here. And then most of the 8 geniuses also became active during his rise to power. Nearly all of them, even Zhuge Liang, the genius who said to not participate, even the 8 geniuses, the 8 genius and the 8 freaks, they all became active during Cao Cao's reign. Pretty much all the heavy hitters that are lurking became active during Cao Cao's rise to power. He also managed to beat Lu Bu, Yuan Fang's father, what was his name again? Yuan Shao. He managed to defeat them, but he stops at defeating the other 2 lords, mostly because of Zhuge Liang's plan and Sima Yi, so sort of that. And then Cao Cao goes through several character development throughout the story, starting with him nearly being killed by Lu Bu, and aside from rather than stopping him, he only strengthens. They only strengthen Cao Cao's resolve to unify all of Han, and this continues even throughout the latest chapter. Cao Cao doesn't seem deterred despite all the setbacks that he have. So with that being said, oh, and also even though the eight geniuses are very good, they learned from Cao Cao, and even the master of Water Mirror School said that he only taught the eight geniuses the basics, and Cao Cao pretty much taught them the experience that they needed for that. And Cao Cao is not really left behind by the eight geniuses. He does learn from them, and then he keeps up somehow. But he does have some pretty embarrassing defeats. But like I said, that doesn't really deter him from his goal to unify all of Han. Now for the next lord we have Liu Bei. Liu Bei is the great uncle, as a lord of Shu Han, given to him by the emperor, by being lobbied by Cao Cao, and when they are, like I said before, when they were fighting against Lu Bu. Known as the Great Uncle, Liu Bu is the main character of the original Romance of the Three Kingdoms. He is known as the benevolent ruler of Shu Han, or the Marquis of Han, contrary to Cao Cao being the ruthless warlord. He is first seen as a weak leader having no ambition, but it was later proven to be false, as he does have ambitions hidden, and it's not just as transparent compared to Cao Cao. His true brothers are his most loyal followers and are stronger than him. They're stronger than him, much stronger than him. Actually, both of them can fight against Lu Bu himself 1v1. Although they won't beat Lu Bu, they can fight against him, and they are a worthy competitor. So Lu Bu, having his two brothers, have a pretty decent fighting force. He later gains power when, like I said, Cao Cao asked for a coalition to defeat Lu Bu, and this helped him gain much more political power. And he continues to grow throughout the series, from being a chill uncle with no ambitions to one of the most powerful warlords of his era. And he does have a lot of charisma. He sort of became a ancient Chinese Jesus in this version, something like that. And he connects to the people much better compared to Cao Cao. But despite that, he does have a ruthless side to him. And with Zhuge Liang joining him and Pang Tong, he does have, and other generals, Liu Bei is now shaping up to be one of the most powerful warlord in the series. Now he's on his way to his path, to his destiny, to become one of the three most powerful warlord, along with Cao Cao and the other forces. And most of that is due to Zhuge Liang, I think. And Sima Yi also played a part in this, because the Zhuge Liang and Sima Yi are sort of the masterminds of this Three Kingdoms plan, at least in this version, the Ravages of Time. So that's it. And for our next lord is Sun Ce. Sun Ce is part of the Sun Clan, and he's known as the Lord of Wu. He goes from the family of Great Sun Tzu himself. As a result, they always ask for their ancestors for guidance, and it is said that since Sun Ce is close to death most of the time, he sees ghosts more often than people. And as for Sun Ce himself, he's very impressive, and he was all up on a roll. He was on a gauntlet with several warlords, he's beating them left and right through might and strategy. I can't talk about them one by one because he beat a lot of people. And as a matter of fact, one of the eight geniuses, Zhu Yi, the fifth genius, said that he cannot keep up with Sun Ce later on, because Sun Ce is growing more powerful as a warlord, and Zhu Yu, despite being eight geniuses, is the one who needs to keep up with Sun Ce. And he made the Sun Clan one of the most powerful forces in the land, and elevated to a point that it can compete with the likes of Cao Cao and Liu Bei's forces single-handedly. And his motto in life is something that I really like, which is life is short, so it's best to deal with problems when they are together. That actually works pretty well in real life, if you can pull it off, that is. But Sun Ce is genius himself. But he's like Lu Bu. He's portrayed as a brute, as all muscle, but he's a pretty smart general, a commander on his own. And as of Sun Ce's story is, somewhat tragic, because at the peak of his success, he was assassinated by some cult members, the one who took down several generals at a young age, the one who could very well be a proper successor to Sun Tzu himself, and said to be comparable to Lubo as well. He was taken down by this nobody idiotic cults, which is a real shame. So there we go. The tragedy of Sun Ce is he died young, and yet in his short life he managed to create one of the most powerful forces in Han, which is the land of Wu. And as for his successor, because his son Quan, his brother, he will be the actual leader of the land of Wu during when it became a part of the Three Kingdoms. And then Sun Quan is the brother of Sun Ce. Sun Quan actually learned from Sima Yi when it comes to at least his business interest. He sort of become a somewhat apprentice of Sima Yi. Sima Yi kept teaching Sun Ce a lot of stuff. He did mentor him, and he learned quite a lot. So he was so good that he became so good later on that he was one of the few people who got Sima Yi caught off guard. So he made use of what he learned from Sima Yi. He did not underestimate Sima Yi, because Sima Yi has a tendency to make himself look weak, and he's saying that he's just a businessman. But Sun Quan managed to see through him. He learned way too much from Sima Yi. He said, you're a businessman who is in government. It's pretty much a minister itself. So there we go. And he considers him a general and a huge threat among Cao Cao's forces. And since Sun Ce died early, Sun Quan became the new head of the clan, and he certainly is quite capable and managed to stabilize the clan after Sun Ce's wild run all over Han. And he's also capable warrior, having learned from Liu Da, and which is Huo's master. The Liu Da is the head of the handicap warriors, the original guy who's missing one eye, and the Sun Quan learned from him. But he's not really known for his combat abilities like Sun Ce. But Sun Quan's leadership is the most impressive of all. He managed to go into a stalemate with Cao Cao in Liu Bei, and with the death of Zhu Yi, he is the only one without one of the 8 geniuses on his side. But nevertheless, he managed to prove to be quite capable. So it is possible that this is what Sima Yi has also been planning, since he trained Sun Quan, and he is in cahoots with Zhuge Liang, and Zhuge Liang is supporting Liu Bei. So Sima Yi, he is with Cao Cao. He trained Sun Quan. They sort of exterminated Zhao Yu and Sun Ce, because I think Sima Yi and Zhuge Liang can't control him, so they remove him from the equation, and Zhuge Liang is one of the closest advisor now of Liu Bei. So the plan of Sima Yi and Zhuge Liang to set up the Three Kingdoms strategy is almost perfect with these 3 in existence. But the 8 genius is about to, I think the 8 genius is trying to ruin that plan, make its own version of that plan. But so far, this seems to be the most likely strategy that will succeed, and this will be very important as we go through the series. So I will stop here. This is much shorter compared to the other ones. It's mostly the 3 lords of the kingdoms of the Ravages of time. Okay, that's it. Thank you.